She went to bed like any other night, but never woke up. She was 72, healthy, full of life. So what went wrong? And how can you avoid the same fate after 70? Aging isn't easy. We carry decades of habits, some harmless, others silently stealing our future. If you're over 60, maybe divorced, starting over, retired, or just trying to find peace, you're not alone. This one's for you. In this video, I'll reveal the 3 most dangerous bedtime habits after 70 that are silently cutting lives short. You'll learn what they are, the stories behind them, and what you can do starting tonight to increase your chances of living to 100 peacefully. Habit number 1. Stimulating your brain before bed. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a horror movie and a real threat. Not at night. Not when the room is dark. Not when you're lying alone in bed. To your mind, fear is fear. Stress is stress. A gunshot on the screen becomes a gunshot in your bloodstream. Dorothy was 74. Widowed at 68. Still wore her wedding ring. Lived alone in a quiet neighborhood where nothing ever really happened except in her head. Every night, she'd do the same thing. Dinner by 6. Dishes by 7. Then she'd sit down in her worn blue recliner, remote in hand, and flip to the news. The world always on fire. Carjackings, break-ins, politics, death counts. And after the news came reruns. Crime shows. Medical dramas. Faces in distress. Screams in the background. Bodies on stretchers. By the time Dorothy got into bed, her hands were cold. Her chest tight. She thought it was just aging. Maybe grief. But it wasn't. It was adrenaline. Every night, her brain was flooded with stress hormones. Every night, her mind believed danger was near. She started sleeping with the hallway light on. Then the TV. Then the kitchen. But none of it helped. She'd lie awake until 3 a.m., blinking at the ceiling, waking up exhausted. She didn't know this simple truth. What you feed your mind before bed doesn't leave you when you close your eyes. It follows you into your sleep, and it decides whether your heart gets rest or stays on high alert. Science has finally caught up to what so many seniors feel but can't explain. The overstimulation we normalize, TV, phones, tablets, isn't harmless, especially not after 60. Here's what researchers now know. Exposure to blue light at night delays melatonin production. Melatonin isn't just your sleep hormone. It's your body's reset button. Without enough of it, your internal clock goes haywire. Worse yet, screens, especially the fast, flashing kind, signal your brain to stay awake, stay ready, stay tense. The result? Elevated cortisol. That's your stress hormone. Cortisol in the evening doesn't just make sleep harder. It keeps your blood pressure high. It taxes your heart. And in long-term studies, seniors who experience regular nighttime cortisol spikes are 40% more likely to develop memory loss, confusion, and early-stage dementia. Let that sink in. What seems like just a habit, scrolling through Facebook, flipping between channels, falling asleep to Netflix, might actually be shaving years off your life. Not because the device itself is deadly, but because the stress it creates doesn't end when the screen turns off. A woman named Jean left a comment on our last video. She's 79. She wrote, "I didn't realize I hadn't slept through the night in over a decade. I thought it was just part of getting old. But after watching your last video, I turned off the TV an hour before bed and sat on the porch instead. I just listened to the crickets and wrote in my journal. I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt quiet. That night, I slept for 8 hours straight. First time in years." Jean didn't need a doctor. She didn't need pills. She just needed peace. And peace rarely comes through a screen. It comes in stillness, in honesty, in silence. So if you're still falling asleep with the television on or scrolling your phone until the words blur, I want to offer you something better. Not harder, just better. Try this. 1 hour before bed, no screens. Not even background noise. Instead, choose from 3 simple options. Option 1. Journal. Write 3 things you felt that day. No filter. No editing. Let the thoughts come out. Let them breathe. Option 2. Ambient sound. Not noise. Sound. Rain, ocean waves, wind in the trees, soft, repetitive, grounding. You're not filling the room. You're soothing your senses. Option 3, stretch or sit in stillness. Light stretching. Or, if your knees aren't what they used to be, just sit. Eyes closed. Breathe in for 4. Out for 6. That's it. And here's the golden rule: create a 30-minute runway for your mind to land. You wouldn't park a plane by slamming it into the ground. You descend, slowly, gradually, gently. Do the same with your day. Habit number 2. Eating the wrong things before bed. You know that old saying, a warm glass of milk and cookies before bed helps you sleep? Sounds cozy, right? But let me ask you something. Have you ever gone to bed feeling heavy? Not just in your body, but in your chest? A little bloated? A little restless? You think it's stress, or maybe just your age. But what if it's what you're eating, and when? Because here's the truth. Cookies, toast, even a glass of warm milk can actually be harming you more than helping, especially after 70. Now wait, before you sigh and say, what else are they going to take from me? I want you to hear this next part. Really hear it. I used to eat toast with jam every single night. Peach preserves. Thick white bread, toasted just enough to melt the butter underneath. This was back when I was alone after the divorce. 10 p.m. was the loneliest part of my day. No one to talk to. No one calling. The house completely silent. So I'd make the toast, sit at the kitchen table in the dark with one light on. That was my ritual. It was comforting. Felt like it was just for me. But one night, my heart started pounding. Out of nowhere. Not fast like fear, but deep. Like a slow drum. I thought I was having a heart attack. Called the ambulance. ER visit. Heart monitor. Blood work. You know what it was? A massive blood sugar spike, followed by a crash. The doctor looked at me and said, "You're feeding your heart confusion. It doesn't know if it should rest or respond." I was 67. Not overweight. No diabetes. No warning signs. Just toast. Just jam. Just loneliness dressed up as dessert. Now let's talk about what's actually happening in your body when you eat the wrong foods at the wrong time. When you eat sugar, or anything that quickly breaks down into sugar, your blood glucose goes up. That forces your pancreas to release insulin, trying to bring it back down. But here's what most people don't know, that roller coaster? It doesn't end with your last bite. It keeps going all night. Your heart rate stays elevated. Your digestion keeps working overtime. Your brain gets interrupted during deep sleep. And worst of all, if your blood sugar drops too low during sleep, it can actually trigger your stress response. You wake up sweaty, anxious, or not at all. There are silent strokes that happen in sleep, especially after 70, linked directly to blood sugar imbalances. That cookie might not feel like a risk, but inside your veins, it's more powerful than you think. Let me tell you about Harold. He's 81 now. 2 years ago, his doctor told him he was pre-diabetic. Harold was shocked. He said, "But I eat healthy mostly." Turns out he was eating dinner at 8:30, sometimes 9. And every night before bed, a little dish of ice cream or crackers with cheese. It was habit, not hunger. His daughter convinced him to stop eating after 7 p.m. At first, he was grumpy, said it ruined his evening. But within a few weeks, he was sleeping deeper. His energy came back, and at his next checkup, his blood sugar was normal again. No medication, no scary warnings, just time and discipline. So now let's talk about what you can actually do tonight. First, if you're hungry before bed, ask yourself this. Am I actually hungry, or just bored, sad, or restless? If the answer is yes, you're truly hungry, go for something gentle. A handful of almonds, half a banana, a small piece of turkey, or plain Greek yogurt with cinnamon. Nothing that spikes, nothing that sours your sleep. Second, aim to eat dinner at least 3 hours before you lie down. That gives your body time to process, your blood sugar time to settle, and your system time to cool. Third, this might be the hardest one, don't eat to fill the silence. Fill it with a walk, a call, a book, prayer, a stretch, anything but sugar. Because at this stage in life, food isn't just fuel. It's medicine, or it's poison. And the line between the two is thinner than it's ever been. You deserve to wake up clear, calm, alive. Let your body rest in peace now. So it doesn't have to do it forever too soon. So tell me, what do you reach for at night? And what could you reach for instead? Let's talk about it. Habit number 3, going to bed with unresolved emotional weight. You know, we've talked about food. We've talked about screens. But if I'm being honest with you, really honest, it's not the food and it's not the phones. It's the weight, the heavy heart we carry into bed every night. That's what keeps us awake. That's what quietly breaks us down. The words we didn't say, the regrets we didn't unpack, the apologies we never got, the guilt we never gave ourselves permission to release. That's the real killer of rest. That's the ache behind the eyes when you stare at the ceiling at 2 a.m. It's not age, it's emotion. Unspoken, unprocessed, unforgiven. Let me tell you a story. Her name was Helen. She was 72 when her husband died, just dropped in the garden one afternoon, watering the marigolds. 43 years of marriage. 2 kids. And suddenly silence. She told me once, I didn't cry right away. I just stood in the doorway and looked at his boots by the door. That's what got me. The boots. But grief wasn't the only thing she carried. She carried anger. Because for years he'd left things unsaid. Brushed her off. Shut down in conversations. He wasn't cruel, but he wasn't present either. And now he was gone. And the chance to resolve any of it gone with him. So every night she went to bed with that weight. Not just the loss, but the resentment, the guilt, the what-ifs. What if I'd asked more questions? What if I'd yelled louder? What if I just walked away years ago? It wasn't the loneliness that stole her rest. It was the unfinished story. And friend, maybe you know that feeling too. Not the same story, but the same ache. Carrying grief like a suitcase you never unpack. Tucking pain under the pillow and pretending it'll disappear in your dreams. But here's the truth. It doesn't disappear. Not until you face it. Not until you speak it. Not until you release it. This isn't just emotional advice, it's physical. Experts have studied this deeply. When we suppress emotion, especially anger, grief, regret, our bodies respond. Increased cortisol, elevated inflammation, higher blood pressure, irregular heartbeat. That emotional tightness in your chest? That's not just heartbreak. That's your nervous system screaming for release. And night is when it's loudest. Unresolved emotional weight, especially in later life, is linked to higher risks of heart disease, autoimmune issues, and yes, even stroke. Why? Because the body keeps score. And when we go to sleep full of tension, our heart never gets the chance to rest. It's working while we pretend we're not hurting. But there's hope. There's healing. And it starts not with a therapist, not with a doctor, but with a moment, a quiet moment, right before sleep. Try this tonight. Sit on the edge of your bed. Put your hands in your lap. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what am I still holding? Don't rush. Let the answers come. A name, a memory, a sentence that was never finished. Now take a breath and ask, am I willing to let this go? Just for tonight. You don't need to solve it all. You don't need to forgive someone who never said sorry. You just need to stop carrying their weight. You've done enough. And then write one sentence. Doesn't need to be poetic. Just real. I feel angry because I miss you even though I forgive myself for it. That's what I call peace journaling. It's not about writing nicely. It's about writing honestly. Then write one more sentence. I'm proud of myself for even if all you did today was make tea and fold laundry. That's still life. That's still worth honoring. Finally, end your night with one thing you're grateful for. Not big things. The small ones. The way your dog looked at you. The feel of warm socks. That one song on the radio. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it softens it. And that softness is what sleep needs to arrive. Now, let me tell you something beautiful. A woman named Diane reached out after watching one of our videos. She's 84 now. For 20 years, she couldn't sleep through the night. She'd turn from side to side, her jaw clenched, her fists tight. She told herself she was fine, but she wasn't. Then one day, she sat down with a photo of her ex-husband. They'd divorced back in 1986. She hadn't spoken to him since. But that night, she lit a candle and said everything she'd wanted to say for years. Out loud. Alone. She cried. Not for him. For herself. For all she'd swallowed. Then she whispered, I forgive you. And I forgive me. That night, she slept. She told me it was the first full night of sleep she'd had in over 2 decades. Not because she fixed everything, but because she let go. You see, our bodies don't need perfect closure. They need peace. And peace is a choice. So let me ask you, what are you still carrying to bed each night? And are you ready to finally set it down? Not forever, just tonight. That's where healing begins. You know what's interesting? When researchers talk to people who've lived past 100, they ask about diet, movement, genetics. But do you know what the centenarians talk about most? Peace. They talk about letting things go, about laughing at themselves, about not carrying grudges to the grave, about sleeping well, not just often, but deeply, guilt-free, thoughtfully, peacefully. There was one woman, Esther, from North Dakota, who turned 103 last spring. She said something so simple it stuck with me for weeks. She said, every night I put my hand on my chest and say, thank you, heart. You worked hard today. Now rest. Then I sleep. That's it. She didn't mention pills, or supplements, or smart watches. Just presence, gratitude, a soft goodbye to the day. Another man, Franklin, age 101, was asked what he thought the secret was to living that long. He chuckled and said, I made peace with my enemies. Then I made peace with myself. And that helped me sleep. Good sleep adds up. You hear that? Good sleep adds up. Not perfect sleep. Not uninterrupted. Just honest, earned, quiet rest. And that's what I want you to remember tonight. This isn't just about avoiding death. It's about inviting life. A calm life. A joyful life. A life that's not just survived, but savored. You're not too old to rest easy. You're not too late to feel light again. Even if the world told you your best years are behind you, you get to decide how your story ends. And maybe this chapter, the soft, quiet one, is the most important yet. Because when the noise fades and the expectations fall away, you're left with you. Your breath, your heartbeat, your thoughts, your spirit. And that's more than enough. So tonight, let your body relax. Let your past loosen its grip. Let your future unfold slowly, gently, one breath at a time. Which of these habits surprised you the most? Drop a comment. I read every one. If you're over 60 and starting over, this channel is your community. Subscribe and join us on this journey. Remember, how you sleep tonight affects how you live tomorrow. Choose peace. You deserve it.